The NFL just shifted under our feet, and honestly, it's an absolute disaster for the rest of the NFC West. Stop what you are doing, because the Cleveland Browns have officially pulled the trigger and traded Myles Garrett to the Los Angeles Rams. If you think this is just another mid-season transaction, you are dead wrong. This move is a tectonic shift that changes the trajectory of the entire league, and quite frankly, it's a nightmare scenario for the Seattle Seahawks. Before we dive into the wreckage and see exactly how this trade impacts Seattle's championship window, smash that subscribe button if you want the fastest, most unfiltered NFL updates on the planet. Let's be real for a second. Did we honestly believe the Rams would just sit back and watch while the rest of the division upgraded? The signs were there. The rumors were swirling since the draft, and while some people were playing it cool, the front office in Los Angeles was working in the shadows. We knew there was a specific window, a golden hour between June and the start of the new league year, where Garrett's contract situation made a move not just possible, but inevitable. And now the news is official. Is this a complete fleecing of the Browns? Maybe not on paper, but when you look at the price tag, you have to wonder if Cleveland surrendered their soul for a handful of picks. I was shouting from the rooftops that if Seattle wanted a game-changer like Garrett, it would have cost them a king's ransom. 3 first-round picks in 27, 28, and 29. The Rams got him for a first in 27, but they had to ship out Jared Verse to make the math work. Now, look at the other side of the coin. If Seattle had made this move, they would have had to gut their own foundation, likely parting ways with someone like Byron Murphy. Would you trade your cornerstone defensive anchor just to get one guy, no matter how elite he is? That's the question every front office has to face. But here is the kicker. The Rams are doubling down on their F them picks philosophy. They are betting everything on a short-term explosion, and they are praying that this gamble finally pays off with another Lombardi trophy. So here is the million-dollar question. Who is actually to blame for this massive shakeup? And does this make the Rams an unstoppable force? Drop a name in the comments below. Who is responsible for this chaos? Let's talk about the immediate impact. The NFC West just got significantly more dangerous. We aren't talking about a depth signing here. We are talking about the best defensive player on the planet joining a team that was already lurking in the shadows. When you compare the production, it's not even a fair fight. Jared Verse is a talented kid, but he isn't Myles Garrett. If you look at the 2025 stat sheets, the tackle for loss numbers, the sack totals, Garrett is in a completely different stratosphere. He is a one-man wrecking crew who can ruin an offensive coordinator's entire game plan by simply walking onto the field. But here is where the curiosity gap gets wider. Everyone is talking about how great this makes the Rams' defense, but nobody is asking the most important question. Is this move actually coming too late for their championship window? We know the clock is ticking on Matthew Stafford. When that arm starts to fade, the Rams' time in the sun effectively ends. They aren't building for 2030. They are building for the next 24 months. Garrett is their win now button. They've bolstered their front seven and shored up their secondary, but is a star-studded roster enough to survive the brutal grind of an NFL season? Wait until you see how Seattle's offensive line is planning to handle the pressure, because the tactics are going to have to change drastically if they want to survive. When we analyze the Rams' current state, it's clear they are all in. They've leveraged their future, their depth, and their assets. They are essentially living on the edge of a cliff. If everyone stays healthy, they are title favorites. But in this league, injuries are the great equalizer. If one or two key pieces go down, the Rams don't have the young, cost-controlled depth that a team like Seattle has cultivated. The Seahawks aren't just relying on stars. They are building a machine. Let's talk about the head-to-head. I know what you're thinking. Garrett is going to feast on the Seahawks, but don't count Seattle out just yet. If you look at the tape from the times Garrett played against the Seahawks, specifically when he was tasked with getting past Charles Cross, it wasn't the total domination people expected. Cross held his own. He showed he had the grit to stand in the pocket and fight back. Can he shut Garrett out for an entire game? Probably not. But can the Seahawks scheme around him? Absolutely. The strategy for Seattle has to be surgical. You cannot leave your tackles on an island against a guy who has a first-step speed that defies physics. It's a death sentence. The answer? You get creative. You lean into 12 and 13 personnel packages. You force the defense to respect the run. You use that play-action pass to keep the defensive line guessing. If you can keep the chains moving and stay ahead of the sticks, you keep Garrett from pinning his ears back and hunting the quarterback. It's all about control. You make the game boring for him. You make him play against the run. You use your tight ends and backs to chip him, to disrupt his rhythm, and to make sure he knows he's in a war every single snap. But here is the real narrative. The media is going to fall in love with the Rams on paper. They are going to pick the Rams to win the division. They are going to talk about how the super team in Los Angeles is the new standard. And you know what? Let them. The Seahawks love being the hunter. They thrive when people start doubting their ceiling. They have a coach in Mike Macdonald who is already looking at this trade as a personal challenge, not a reason to panic. The Rams think they bought a championship, but they also just painted a massive target on their own backs. The Seahawks are going to be hyper-focused, disciplined, and ready to exploit any crack in that Rams foundation. If the Rams see a regression, if Stafford loses a step, if Garrett gets frustrated, if their lack of depth begins to show, the whole thing could collapse like a house of cards. Meanwhile, the Seahawks are building a legacy. This isn't just about winning one year. It's about establishing a culture that can dominate the NFC West for the next decade. It's going to be a wild season. The Rams have bet the farm, but the Seahawks are holding the aces. The real test is coming, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else but right here, watching it all unfold. Now, I want to hear from you. Does this trade make the Rams the undisputed kings of the West, or are they setting themselves up for a massive fall? Leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts. Do you think the Seahawks have the personnel to neutralize this threat? Or are we looking at a new era of dominance in Los Angeles? Stay tuned. Keep that energy up and get ready for the fallout of this trade to change the entire league. This is only the beginning of the drama, and I'll be here to break down every single play, every single trade, and every single snap as the story continues to evolve. Keep your eyes on the field and your notifications turned on. Things are about to get very, very interesting.